Tracy Amigos, former football coaches turned insurance agents to talk about Texas Aggie football.
Big win.
Well, they had a big win last night, and dude, after watching them last night, they got a chance. Because last year it was all led Nikki. Now they got the Stowers girl on the other side. That middle is a freaking beast, and so they've got some players more than just one. So
Is that Eli Stowers' sister?
yes, she was at Baylor, and then she had some concussion issues or something, and had to sit out a year. And then nobody would touch her. Like nobody wanted to offer her a scholarship because of her concussion history. And if you watch the game, she wears some deal around her neck that's supposed to like help
the blood
help with
thing.
that. Yeah, I'm not sure how that works, but
those are getting popular.
That Pollard guy for the Cowboys had one of those.
yeah.
He used to wear one of
And
that.
Colton, did you give my boy Cody a hard time yesterday?
Man, a little bit. Yeah, that's most days
Okay.
with me and him, though. We're back and forth all the time.
He's a great dude, man. Great dude.
He is. Yeah, he is.
All right, so I'll get started. Welcome, Trace Amigos, episode 2 for the 2025 season. We're going to be going over what we expect from the UTSA game, and we are blessed today to have another Traylor, not Jeff Traylor, but a close relative, join us today, Colton Traylor. And Colton, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I went to A&M, graduated in 2013, so I got to watch the Johnny years. It was epic. I was there also from the going from the Big 12 to SEC, so it was a good time for A&M sports in general. I'm a high school coach now. I've coached at UTSA as well. I was there for 2 years, 21, 22, and then I came back to Gilmer. I've coached at Gilmer, Tyler Legacy, Spring Hill, in the East Texas area, so I'm back at Gilmer, and I coach here now, football and track.
Awesome. And tell us how you related to Jeff again, just so the audience.
Yeah, so there's actually 3 Traylor brothers. It's Jeff and Kurt, who are the coaches at UTSA. Jeff, the head coach, and my Uncle Kurt's the O-line coach there, run game coordinator. And then my dad is Andrew. He's the 3rd brother. He's probably the smartest one in the group. He's a builder. He's a home builder.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have to depend on teenagers or young adults to keep his job security. I understand.
As long as he can get some equipment to the right place and some building materials, he's good to go.
There you go. All right. Well, I'm just going to tell a quick snippet about me. I was a coach for 10 years, high school coach, and then now I sell insurance. But what I wanted to tell everybody about today, and I know we're going to talk about football. Everybody on here loves football, coach football. But man, if you are not keeping up with the A&M volleyball team right now, you need to check them out. Morrison has them rolling. They're ranked in the top 10 preseason. They played number 11 Minnesota last night and beat them in 4 sets. And they've got some players. My daughters are playing volleyball now, one in high school, one in junior high. They love it. And they look up to those girls, and they got a middle that absolutely is a brick wall. Can't get around her, can't get by her. And got Eli Stowers, that was at A&M. His younger sister transferred in from Baylor, and she's playing. And then you got Lednicki, who obviously was an All-American last year, and they got some other players, but they are stacked and should have a chance to have a heck of a season. So definitely want to check them out. But Mark, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I spent 20 years in coaching at the high school level. Also worked a little bit at UNT when I was there. Worked in all kind of capacities at UNT. But 20 years in coaching. Coached at Marshall, Carthage, Garrison, and Carthage, and did several different stints at Carthage. So lucky to be part of 5 state championship teams. So you mentioned it on the notes, Matt, but you didn't say it. But my record against Traylor was 2-1. He got us one time over there in Gilmer on a last-second field goal. But we did beat him in the regional final in 2008, which was one of the best football games I ever coached in. Just a great game. But yeah, and now I'm an associate at Rollo and sell insurance for a living, so I don't have the stress of a coach. I can just sit back as an expert. I always like looking online when they say the experts predict the SEC, and those experts are all journalism majors and stuff. So, that always cracks me up. So I get to be an expert now because I'm not coaching, so I can say what I want to say. But anyway, happy to be talking about Aggie football, which I love. Grew up being an Aggie, have a lot of family members that went down there, spent a lot of time, been to 6 Cotton Bowls. So anyway, love talking
Yeah,
Aggie
well,
football.
I'll tell you, I'm glad you're 2-1 because unfortunately I was thinking back going on this podcast. I'm 0-2 against Mr. Traylor. They beat us. That was the same year when I was on staff with Mark when they beat us in the last second field goal. And then we played them in 2014 at Lobo Stadium the year after we won the state title, and we had graduated everybody, and they were absolutely loaded. Kid Chris Boyd played for the Vikings, stud player. They kicked our tail that evening. That was a bad game for the Bulldogs. But Seth, tell us about yourself, boss.
I spent 16 years coaching various East Texas schools. These guys all coached at Alabama and Georgia, and I coached at Kansas State and Mississippi State to equivalent out to everybody. I'm also Coach Traylor's uncle as well, but we're more like brothers with the age gap of only being about 7 years. So grew up together like brothers, more like instead of uncle and nephew. And so I still watch film all the time. I'm in insurance now, like these other two amigos. But I still watch film all the time. It's what I do to pass the time. I don't really watch Netflix outside of Seinfeld. And anyway, I'm 0-1 versus Traylor in 2011. The only year I coached well, it's not the only year I coached defense, but the main year I coached defense is how I word it. We lost 14-6 and held Gilmer to their lowest points scored. And since his first year at Gilmer, I want to say it was 2002 or 01 maybe was when the last, but they anyway. So it was a good game. We had our game plan and we did pretty well, but they also stuffed us pretty good too. And I'm also 0-1 versus Brown and Fulmar, Carthage. Whenever I was at Pittsburgh, Ed Pope slot fade, and our clock operator hosed us. Should have been the ball game. They
Thank
shouldn't
you
even
for
have
that.
ran that play. They made a huge mistake, and our clock operator bailed him out. And that's a long story. We'll have to do some Trace Amigos, like old coaching stories one time where I'll tell that one in full length. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I mean, there was a second. There was a second left on the clock. I mean, I thought he did a great job.
I thought
Sure,
the clock
absolutely.
operator deserved a raise that day. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we
I
only
would
had
say
Ed Pope
home
triple
field
coverage.
advantage, but we were at your stadium.
Yeah. So anyway, I
Well-
still don't forgive that guy, and I don't have to apologize to him like one of our coaches had to one time for making a scene. So I'm not a coach at Pittsburgh anymore, so I can tell him he's a horrible clock runner, and I hope
There
he
you
sees
go.
this and gets mad about it. So.
All right, so we'll jump into it. We're going to talk about UTSA's defense. And if you watched the press conference yesterday with Coach Traylor at UTSA, and you watched Elko at our press conference, it's kind of a guessing game right now on who's going to be the starters for them because they literally had to replace all 11. And so I'm kind of going off what I anticipate will be the starters. If that's not, then you adjust as we go. But the main thing that I got from looking at their defensive roster is, man, they've got a lot of D1 transfers. And I know UTSA's D1, but I'm talking Power 4 D1 transfers. You look at John Jones there, probably going to play defensive end. He started out, he's from Dallas. He went to Missouri. Then you look at Johnny Bowers. If y'all remember that name, you should. He's from Converse Judson, and he was a kid that everybody thought was going to be like Kinsley Kiki, who played at A&M from Converse Judson. Everybody tried to compare those two kids. He ended up going to Oregon. Had some injuries and is now down at UTSA. So they've got some kids that A&M and other SEC, Big Ten, whatever you want to call it, big schools went out and went after. So I'm not sure, if this is for sure the 4 we're going to see. I will tell you, and if you watch the preseason, I feel very, very confident about our O-line. I think those 5 guys right there, plus a couple others that got to play quite a bit last year, are going to do really well against that D line. So that's what I got out of it. You can see the size difference. I mean, they're the guy that I think is going to be the 3 technique is 6'1", 305. He's going to be going up against 6'4" and 6'6". So they've got a weight disparity. They now one thing I will tell you, and I think these guys can attest to it. Traylor's not afraid to take a risk. So I would expect a lot of stunning from their front, a lot of twisting, because he's not stupid. He sees the size difference, and he's going to know we can't just line up and go nose to nose with these guys. So I don't doubt that Coach Traylor and that defense is going to have some some ways to try to utilize what they have and hide what they don't have. But that's what I see. Seth, what do you see out of that front?
Yeah, I laugh about the UTSA. UNLV and Coach Mullen gets all the publicity for having the last chance U defense, but UTSA's kind of looks that way this year. And I would like to ask Coach Traylor about, like, I mean, they obviously hit the portal kind of hard on defense, because I remember seeing the press conference with Coach Jeff Traylor saying they lost all 11 starters. Can you kind of share with us, what is that like whenever you were there, being at UTSA and dealing with the transfer portal, whether bringing kids in or keeping kids from leaving? How did y'all handle that?
From a recruiting standpoint, we always, our mindset was, how can you improve the room, basically, whether it be transfer portal or high school recruiting. Now, in their case, when you lose the entire starting defense, you got to improve your rooms pretty quick there, right? So you got to scour, the portal how you can. And a lot of times, too, you'll see the guys that they bring in through the transfer portal is guys that were offered before they went out to Oregon or Mizzou or anywhere else. So they have a relationship there with them already. And then when they do get in that portal, then it's time to, hey, we offered you early. What do you think about us? We're still here, basically. So that's a big part of it. They're at UTSA, they're going to be real recruiting wise. It's big on relationships and talking to those guys and telling them the truth too. So that was a big part of it.
So it's a little bit more of a warm call than a cold call for a lot of their guys they try to go after in the portal. There's a fire relationship there.
No doubt. And knowing, different college coaches too, like there's so many connections on that staff at UTSA from different, parts of the country. They can call a JUCO coach or somebody and, get an answer about a guy pretty quick. So
we're muted now.
How about now? Okay. Sorry. But yeah, speaking of relationships and all that, I'm sure Bowen's being from Converse Judson right up the road from UTSA, that was a quick phone call and a quick connection right there. That I 100% see how that unfolded quick and fast and in a hurry. So you got any insight on these guys as far as, play or technique or anything like that?
The only one I'm really familiar with is Vic Shaw. That's because he played at Pleasant Grove, and so I coached against him.
Oh, yeah.
Super talented athlete in high school. He was, he played everywhere on the D line, played a little linebacker too, played some tight end for him. So he's a really good athlete. That's, again, one of those East Texas connections, getting down to UTSA. There's quite a few guys down there from East Texas who are going to ball out this year.
Sure is.
So
yeah.
They're going to be pretty aggressive on the D-line. I know that. They're going to try to use that stand-up end to do some stuff. He'll play all over the field probably. A lot of times to the boundary, move him around, stuff like that. So they're going to try their best to not let their D-line just get punished.
Yeah, that's because, I mean, like I said, Jeff obviously is good at what he does and knows his stuff. He's gonna look at that O-line on film and go, yeah, we're not going to be able to just line up and try to go nose to nose with these guys.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I would expect all kinds of stunts, which honestly would be great for A&M because they're probably going to see some exotic stuff that, that's what you look for to kind of prepare for later down the roads.
Matt, do you think
be careful using that word exotic? Sorry.
Do you think they'll probably primarily be in a 4-2-5 look, or will they be more of a 3-down with A&M's quarterback run game?
They run out of that 4-2-5, I believe, if I'm not wrong, Colton. But they, like he said, with this 31, he's kind of a stand-up guy, and they'll move him a lot. And so, they'll drop him out into coverage. They'll do all sorts of stuff with that guy. So it can be a 3-down look, depending on what they're doing.
Which really, modern day defense is, there's not a single defense out there that can't do 3-down or 4-down.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what your base is. If you can't do that, then you're from 1992. I mean, it's like modern day. You better be able to line up in a 2-down defense on certain occasions if you want to. So.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, and then looking at the linebackers, there's some names here that obviously, if you've been following recruiting, been following A&M, you'll know. Kendrick Blackshear started out at Alabama, big time Duncanville kid, 4 or 5-star, whatever he was. Went to Alabama, didn't stay there long. Went to Texas and stayed there even less. I think I look back at it and I think he transferred from Alabama to Texas in December, and by May he was at UTSA. And so obviously, if you're getting recruited, you're a 4 and 5A. If Nick Saban's wanting you to come, you're a heck of an athlete. I'm not sure what happened at Bama or what happened at Texas, but I know that Traylor will have him out there doing all sorts of stuff, I'm sure. And then Banks, he was from North Shore. I think everybody remembered he was a receiver. Came to A&M. Looked like he had been eating with me for a while when he got to A&M, and probably couldn't cut it at wide receiver. They told him he was going to be a linebacker. He got mad and went to TCU, and they turned him into a linebacker anyway. And I actually had a pretty good career up there at TCU, and then for whatever reason, decided to make a change, and he's down there now. So both those kids were highly recruited athletes out of high school. Would expect them to be at the top of their depth chart, and they're going to be kids that we're going to have to keep an eye on. I'm sure Banks probably still has some salty feelings about how he was treated when he was at A&M. So I'm sure he's looking forward to this game for sure. So Seth, anything you see?
No, you pretty much covered it. It's like you said, it's interesting seeing these names again, especially Shadrack Banks, because I was very excited about him with potential like of a HVAC type guy when he showed up, a big bodied receiver, and then a little too much
snifferback
big
type.
body happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Colton, you got anything on these guys? I don't guess you were probably there for any of them, huh?
I actually, it's funny you say that. Owen Pee Wee was my scout team outside linebacker, so I ran the scout team for our offense.
Okay.
And when I was there, he was young. He was a freshman. He was super athletic, very aggressive, and he played scout team outside linebacker for us. And did an awesome job. Awesome job. You can see so the Kendrick's number 9. Banks is 0. Owen's number 2. So at UTSA, they do the single-digit numbers. If you're a 0 through a 9, basically that means you're one of their dudes. So a lot of respect for their linebackers. Obviously, they vote on that themselves, and those guys got single digits. I actually coached against Kendrick. He was a freshman at Mesquite Horn before he transferred to Duncanville, I believe, right?
Yes.
And he, as a freshman, looked like he was about 26 years old and could bench press, 2 Honda Civics at the same time. I remember he threw the shot put at the district meet, and he threw it like 45 or something crazy. And just from the front of the board, dude went up there and grabbed it and ripped it. We were like, oh my gosh. He was a freak.
Yeah. Probably
Absolutely.
not much technique at all, just athleticism and strength.
He just walked over,
track
grabbed
coach
the
is
shot
like, go
put.
get us some points, dude.
Yeah. Go play real quick.
Yeah.
Okay.
No doubt.
Yeah, super impressive.
Yeah. And then getting into the secondary, they've got 3 transfers back there now. Only one of them's from a big school, Jimmy Wyrick. He came from Stanford, and the other 2, New Mexico transfer and Nevada. But you can see throughout the depth chart, from D tackles to linebackers to the secondary, there's a lot of moving pieces, and I don't doubt Traylor's ability to get them corrected. I'm sure he's stressing about taking 11 new guys and throwing them out there at Kyle Field on a Saturday evening, and hoping that they know what to do and where to line up and what their keys are and all those types of things. This is what you got. Not too much size on that back end. The one corner 6'2", but the rest of them are 6 foot or less, and all transfers from different schools. So it's going to be a difficult environment, difficult experience for them to take 11 new guys that most of them have not even been in the system until this summer, and try to get them to mesh well. That's not a shot at Traylor by any stretch. I got a lot of respect for that guy. That's just a lot to ask for any coach at this point. So, Drennan or Seth, you got anything you want to add, and then we can move on to the offense?
Yeah, so kind of just to segue into and kind of how it relates to A&M offense, I really like the challenge that UTSA is going to provide on offense and defense, because, like Colton said, they're gonna try to be an Coach Traylor said they're gonna be an opportunistic defense. More than likely, you go into a place like A&M and you're like, we can't just play base and expect to win this game. We're gonna have to create some havoc, and so that's going to be a good stress test for the offense up front. Yes, it could create some explosive plays, but that's the boomer bust mentality of trying to create havoc on defense. You're going to put your guys in some tough spots in the secondary. You're going to put guys up the field, so a ball carrier gets to the second level, has a chance to turn into an explosive. And so, kind of to take UTSA off the opponent off. This is one of those cupcake games. You just call it what it is, right? I mean, UTSA they're a good football program, but it is what it is. You schedule UTSA, they're getting paid to come play here, so you better win the game, and you better. But what I'd like to see is I kind of got a checklist that I created for what I'd like to see the offense do to, and I'm going to reference this as the season goes on, because I don't think we got very far up this checklist last year. Maybe 2 or 3 of them, and what I have, the ones that are building are what I call the floor raisers, and the 2 up top are the ceiling creators. Okay, and so last year, I think you could argue that we might have created good conflict in the offense. That's one of Klein's bread and butters. Physical running backs until we lost Moss. Yes, I agree. Physical running backs are a key there to get those extra yards and have that floor raising run game, because the run game can travel. A tight end play, we've already talked about that. Pretty big negative last year. And the thing about tight end plays is, like, we watch the game, we can say, oh, they only had this many catches, but when you put a tight end on the field, people think, oh, put a tight end on the field, we're going to get an advantage, an extra blocker. Well, if he's not an effective blocker, that's a
Then
net
you just
negative as
lost,
well.
yeah, because you could have
That's right.
you could have used a receiver and got better
We could have spaced
spacing.
the guy out of the box.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's what I want to see is, like, the tight end play is not just how many catches did they have. It's, are they being a net positive when they're lined up in line or as an H-back off the line and they're pulling or they're down blocking or reach blocking, all those things we're going to ask those guys to do. Will that be a net positive? Because last year I don't think it really was. So I'm going to say no to that one. Horizontal stretch, that kind of plays into misdirection, but speed helps with this a lot, as well as vertical stretch, and we've got more speed this year. And then the space player, there wasn't really a guy last year outside of Moss who, when they got the ball in their hand, you're like, ooh, this guy can make something out of one guy miss and then it's gone. We really didn't have that. And this year, I think with Concepcion, you got Moss coming back, and even Marcel Reed can be one of these guys with his legs. So we're going to come back and look at this, but that's what when I'm watching the game, this is what, and I'm watching film after the game, these are the things I'm looking at an offense and going, are they checking all these boxes? And yes, you might check 1 or 2. Like, we vertically stretched Florida pretty good with those 2 big passing plays, but you got to be able to consistently do it every week. And so that is kind of my checklist in this game and going forward. What does the offense look like when it regards these things? And so what I like about UTSA is, once again, they're going to stress test that, because they're not just going to play base like a scout team card. They're going to try to create some havoc. They're going to send guys, delay blitzes. They're going to stunt. They're going to do all those things. So that's good. That's good. It's hopefully a low stress test, if that makes sense. So
No, I'm
Seth?
with you.
Seth, I would just say this: when you talk about the vertical stretch and being able to force them into a 2 safety look, when we go back to the Texas game, one of the things I noticed, especially in the first half, is, Texas always shows the 2 shell, and then they'll roll down with that safety, and they rolled down on every run play, and they held 2 safety on every pass. But it was like they knew something, and being able to get people in the wrong thing when they spin down, and it, and you're able to stretch that 1 safety vertical. We've got to be able to be better than we were last year at that.
100%, 100%, and I was really encouraged by what Coach Sherrill said last week about the tight ends. And I agree with you. That's the next step. We got to see the tight ends, then you can go to the horizontal stretch. Then you can definitely hit the vertical. But we've got to have play out of those tight ends 100%. So I'll be honest, nothing physically scares me about UTSA as far as them lining up against our offense physically. And I do think that because Traylor's willing, he's kind of a gambler, and so he will tell them, turn them loose, do all the stunts you got, for them, this, if he can come into Kyle Field and beat A&M, his resume is already impressive, but can you imagine what that does for that guy? And so he's not going to be scared to roll the dice. I can promise you that. And so I think that we should be able to score. But we do have to understand he's going to roll the dice and do some things that are unexpected and probably not schematically sound, but he understands he's got to do those things because he does not have the Jimmies and Joes that are going to be on the other side of the field. So, Colton, you got anything before we move on to the offense about what you expect from A&M's offense or UTSA's defense?
Yeah, UTSA's defense, it's a lot of feast or famine. So We're going to have to win on the edge with our receivers, and the tight end play to me also is crucial. I know I watched a lot of the end zone copies last year of A&M games during the off season, and just from a blocking scheme wise, those guys had a lot of room to improve. I think they will. It's a talented group. The tight end room is. So to me, after your quarterback, the next most important part of the offense is the tight end because they're so versatile, run game, pass game, whatever it is. If you have a good tight end in your offense, it changes your whole dynamic for your offense. So those guys get going, it's going to be good. I think with how our receiver rooms improved this year, with just from the speed aspect of it, those guys are going to have a big game, big game.
Okay. Well,
I
let's
really
move
think
on
that's
to
the
the
biggest. I really think that's the biggest mismatch when you look at UTSA versus A&M is
Yes.
if our receivers are what the hype says, they're gonna. I think that's the weakness of the UTSA defense is just the back end guys just being not familiar with that system and being new to it and just their talent level. I think we could expose them, but we didn't show it last year. So
Yeah. All right. So moving on to UTSA's offense, Mark and Seth has got some comments here too. We'll get to, but Mark, what did you see? What are you thinking on their offense? I can tell you this. I'm not gonna say a whole lot about their offense because I stick to the other side of the ball. But I can tell you this. Like Seth said earlier, if I know anything about Jeff Traylor, he knows how to put points on the board. And so, if you think that this is going to be a game where we hold them to no points or they're not going to cross the 50, I'd be very, very surprised if that happened. Just because Jeff Traylor is an offensive dude and he knows how to spread people out, he knows how to create space, and he knows how to create lanes for running backs and receivers. So, but go ahead, Mark.
well, on their offense, they have a McCown at quarterback, and I think that name should be familiar with Ags and everybody in East Texas for sure. I coached against him when he was young at Rusk, and I mean, we made him look really bad, but that was because of offensive line versus defensive line. It wasn't because of him. He still made some great throws when he had time. So, I would say this: you're in an atmosphere at Kyle Field. We've got to put pressure on the quarterback consistently. If we can put pressure on him, that's going to be the big thing. He is inclined to turn it over a little bit with pressure. Just looking back at last year, but he's going to have another year under his belt. And like you said, Traylor's always going to do a great job coaching offense. I coached against Traylor back in the day, and that was the big test for us. Every time was he's going to put us in situations where we have to be very sound front side, back side, and then being able to understand that he's going to give us misdirection, quarterback pull, that kind of thing, a lot of counter stuff. And so we got to put pressure on the quarterback. And we got to do it a lot. And so I'm looking forward to seeing Elko's stamp on the defense against that. Our D line is a question mark. Their O line is probably the strength of their offense. They're all seniors and juniors, and so we're going to find out pretty quick about our D line. Not that this isn't Notre Dame's O line, but and everybody knows our D line's kind of a question mark right now, and so this is not a simple like New Mexico test. This is going to be a little bit of a test. Our D line against their O line. They have a good back. The Henry guy, I think is Robert Henry. He's a good back. He has a ton of experience. He averaged 5.4 yards a carry last year. Obviously, Taylor, it's not just handing it to a back like in the NFL. It's not like Emmitt Smith. They ran 3 plays. This is going to be a lot of misdirection stuff. A lot of pullers, guys in motion with jet fakes and things like that. So being very sound at the linebacker, having good eyes. I think our linebackers are good. I think York showed so much improvement on reading the triangle last year and being where he was supposed to be. But he'll have to be that all night against UTSA.
I would call this a very similar poor man's version of Auburn. They probably don't have the athletes that Auburn has, but very similar in the fact you're going to have a lot of misdirections. You're going to have a lot of pullers. You're going to have to read your keys and have your eyes in the right spot, or he will make you look foolish.
And I would say this, I probably would put Traylor ahead of Auburn schematically, just because I know Traylor and
Yeah,
I
I
know
would
how
say,
much he
he
really
just doesn't
knows.
have the Jimmies and the Joe. No, I'm with you. I'm just saying
Right.
he doesn't have the Jimmies and the Joes Auburn has, but schematically
Right. And I would think that the thing that Auburn did to us, and I bet those guys watched that Auburn film in the summer a bunch, but the thing that Auburn did to us is they saw our checks. Last year we showed checks, like automatic checks. Here's an empty check. Here's a, whatever. If they put 3 receivers to the side, we had some certain checks and they exposed it. It's like, look, if we're going to do that over 3 receivers on that side, we're going to hit them on this backside because they're exposed. And Traylor will be good at that too. So we're going to have to be able to kind of be multiple, be disguising. You got a quarterback with a lot of pedigree. You got a good offensive coordinator who knows how to teach it. So we're going to have to disguise some things. But we have to stop the run. It's defense. Seth has cute little, graphics and stuff. Defensive guys, we don't do that. We draw upside down on the board and that kind of thing if you ask an offensive guy. But our standards that you have to think, we have to stop the run. We have to make UTSA throw the ball. And even though they have a pedigree quarterback, making them throw the ball lets our D-line pin their ears back. And so we have to stop the run. And I don't think it's going to be super easy like you would think it would be. It's like, oh, well, it's UTSA. Look, UTSA can play. I just don't think they're going to be able to play as long with us. I think depth will get them, and we just got to stop the run early.
Yep. Seth, you got some notes about this offense of UTSA's, boss?
So, and I want to let Coach Traylor chime in as much as he wants right here, because I know when he was on the staff, they had to prepare for this type of game on the road and stuff. And so, tell me, what would y'all do? Like, and I know they can change. It's a couple years later, but like, what's the mentality of being on the staff with a school like UTSA going to play a Power 4 school at their stadium offensively that week? What are y'all doing on the whiteboard and scheme and practice and stuff like that?
So, we had a weekly process that carried over from P5 teams to G5 teams. I mean, that's the same now. It's the stuff during practice, right? The sound, you got to have the sound piped in. You got to work your silent
Sure.
count, stuff like that. So there's a lot more of that involved. And then you had to really focus on too, like, who do you want to attack? Because you're going to be mismatched on the edge, or somewhere on the D line is going to have a mismatch on you. You got to find your edge somewhere. When I was at UTSA, we actually played in Austin against the Sips, and we were up at halftime on them. And we were up because we threw a double pass before halftime.
That's what I'm
Sakari
talking about.
Frenchman, made an
Thank you for
insane catch in
segueing
the end
me
zone.
and my thoughts.
So I would expect a double pass, reverse, something from offense is going to happen, because they have some solid skill players that can do stuff like that. But you got to take your shot, swing, whatever your punch is, man, you got to punch it. The thing that, like y'all mentioned, though, we went into halftime, we had a walk-on starting at left guard as well. And when you go play a P5 team with a walk-on, a G5 walk-on at that, man, it got rough there in the second half. So they leaned on us in the second half, and it was a size thing, really. We just, couldn't match the intensity of the size from a P5 team. So, but process-wise, it's the same. It's just how can you fight through all the noise and stuff like that. And I listened to Jeff's interview last night, actually, and he had 3 kids go to A&M, and I went to A&M, so he knows all about it. He's been to plenty of games as well. They know all about the noise. So,
Colton, I'm not, you don't have to confirm or deny this, but I will tell you, at church on Sunday, I had a gentleman that is heard a rumor said that they had talked to Jeff's oldest son, who is now working in the news media, and he works at the White House. If I'm wrong, Colton, tell me if I'm wrong.
yeah,
But
that's Jake. That's the middle
Jake,
son.
okay. So
yeah,
supposedly
Jake.
this gentleman had talked to Jake, and Jake, like you said, graduated from A&M, and they said, "Man, who you gonna be pulling for on Saturday? It's your dad versus your alum." And And he said, man, he says, pretty easy choice for me. He said, my dad said if we can go down there and beat A&M, there's going to be $100,000 more at each one of our checking accounts on Monday. So I don't know if that's true. I don't know. It's what I was told. Now, if I'm their son and daughter, I'm probably pulling for UTSA too, because $100,000 in my account on Monday would look pretty good. But I watched that press conference, and you can definitely tell he has a lot of respect for A&M. All his kids went down there. He talked about, it's the cathedral of football and all those type of things. So I don't think it's a disrespect thing at all. I think he has a lot of respect for A&M. But I'm with you, man. I'm looking forward. I think you said it best, Seth. It's going to be a great test for us, and he's going to do a lot of things that is going to push us and make us hopefully show that we've corrected some of the mistakes last year. So we'll see. But go ahead, Seth. I know you got.
No,
Man,
Mark is
Seth
fired
always
up
outdoes
right
me
now.
on these
Mark
graphics.
is fired up. Yeah. So I mean, there's one thing. If we've seen Coach Traylor's been a head coach in East Texas, and been at the college game, and everywhere he goes, explosive plays follow like they do. And I mean, that's all. Gilmer's known for that. Like, I know Carthage is known for it too, but Carthage is known for playing some defense too. Like, Gilmer's known for explosive plays. Like, you go watch a Gilmer game, you're expecting some big touchdowns scored. And so that has continued at UTSA. As you can see, I just pulled stats off cfbstats.com and made it into a graph. And I thought, how do I compare this where it's easy for us to digest? Let's use a percentile. And so, UTSA last year, which is not their best year, right? Like, last year was probably not their best year under Coach Traylor. They were still at nearly the 80th percentile on explosive plays created. All right, average of 20 plus more per game. And the Texas A&M defense, we fall down into that bottom third percentile on defending explosive plays. So like you said, and this is kind of a recurring theme, is like, this is a great stress test opportunity for a team that knows how to create explosives. And always will, as long as Coach Matt Turner is chief of staff. That's what I wanted to bring that Trailer.
Well, I just want to, Seth, I'd like to make one little asterisk on that.
Sure.
Being in the 7, they played against North Texas last year, and North Texas ran a 3-3 stack, and they pretty much just let people score because they didn't know how to line up. So part of that, they might have only been in the 74th percentile.
Oh, man.
Well, I like to go back and watch the explosive. I went back last year. I watched every play over 20 yards for UTSA. And I will say, it is pretty balanced how they've done it. But one thing I did notice, and Coach Traylor brought it up, was they probably had more gadgets hit than any D1 program I watch. You watch a lot of D1 programs, 1 or 2 gadgets a year. I saw 5 or 6 gadgets go for explosives last year. And I'm only seeing the ones that went. So that means there's probably a lot more that might have fell incomplete, or the guy threw it away, whatever. So that's one of the things, like, I know we're going to see gadgets early. It's a great opportunity for some film to get done. Like, the coaching staffs on both sides of the ball for A&M are going to get great film out of this to use. And look, crazy things have happened. UTSA may come in here and make this a 1-score ball game or win. I doubt that's going to happen. It happens every year somewhere. But I do like the way A&M is constructed offensively to be able to control the game a little bit better. But long story short, I like the stress test on both sides of the ball that we're going to get. I like that they're kind of a mismatch from creative explosive plays, even if it was against North Texas. They go in expecting to hit big passes. They go in expecting to throw the ball down the field. Like, McCowan throws a pretty good ball down the field. Like, that's a family business. You got
I was about to say,
kid running that offense. That's the family business.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
they don't create offensive linemen in that family. They're spinning it. So, Colton, at this point, we usually do prediction of the game, and then we do a prediction for player of the game. And then this year, we're going to predict every week SEC games. And at the end of the year, I think we've decided that whoever out of the 3 of us wins that, the other 2 got to buy him a real nice meal. So I'm thinking a trip to Dallas or something for that. But
yeah, I should have taken a journalism class in college. Dang it.
So my prediction for the game, I'm saying 48-14. Like I said, I don't think we're going to hold them out of the end zone. And I think they're going to get some plays on us. They're going to hit us for some explosives. Like I said, no matter where Traylor's ever been, he's put up points. And so I think we can score against them pretty consistently. And I do believe that if we had to, we can ground and pound and really slow the game down and take the ball out of their hands. But I'm going to say 48-14. Mark, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm thinking 35-17. Aggies always seem to start slow for some reason. It's like a tradition, I guess. I don't know, but it seems to be that way. I also think that they're going to run the ball to keep it away from UTSA's offense and really get the run game going early, get that on film, get people. But I think they'll still have some explosive plays. I think it's a tight game for a little while, but I think eventually the Aggies pull away, and it's comfortable in the fourth quarter. But I think it's a little bit closer than everybody's going to want. That way we can go back to battered Aggie syndrome and complain that we didn't blow UTSA out, because I think most people don't really understand how good a football team and how well coached UTSA is. So I think 35-17.
All right. Coach Traylor, what are you thinking?
It's going to be in my mind, thing for the Aggies is, can our defense stop their run game? Robert Henry, he's a super athletic tailback. He was the JUCO Player of the Year actually in 22, and then the backup now is Will Henderson from Gilmer. He ran a 10-2 in high school. He's like a Devon Achane like starter kit basically. He is a freak of an athlete.
He's good. I coached against him. He's really good.
He can go.
He accounted for a lot of those explosives I watched on film. Like, he's the one that's that space player. Like,
And
that guy can go.
He played a little bit last year, just sparingly, because they had a loaded running back room, and they do again this year. So I think those two are going to be tough to contain. The thing I like is, their receiver room is super athletic. Devin McEwen, David Almondor, Will McCoy. They're not very big, though. They're like 5'10-ish, 5'11 top guys that can go. If we can slow down the run game, which I think the Ags are going to be able to, I think the A&M offense is going to shine. I think Marcel Reed's going to have a great day. I'm going to go with 49-21.
Okay, 49-21.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Drennan, tell us what you're thinking.
I think UTSA is going to pop us for a big plays. It's going to make everybody have heartburn. But I think in the long grand scheme of things, that A&M's offense will roll, and then eventually UTSA is going to circle the wagons and save the equipment. And so it probably will be close for a little while, and then it will pull away late. And so I'm going 55-17. I feel a little weird saying 55 for an A&M offense against anybody, but from watching last year. But anyway, I think they're going to make a statement early, like offensively, like, hey, we're here, we're legit. And I think it's going to be one of those types of games where here comes in Miles O'Neal as the backup quarterback, and here comes in the backup running backs, and they're just going to call the offense like normal. It's not going to be like, you guys go in there and run the clock out. So I think they're going to go in there and let them guys get some real reps, and so that could end up some more scoring. And so anyway, I do think we're going to score over 50. I do think we're going to cover, but I could see it being a little sketchy early.
Yep. No, I think that's great. So my prediction of the game, I agree with Mark. I think we're going to lean on that run game. They're going to slowly start working Moss back in. I know he said he was full go, but I have a hard time believing that with Notre Dame in a couple weeks that we're going to really throw him out there for 20 carries or anything crazy like that. So my player of the game is going to be Reuben Owens. We've been waiting 3 years for this kid to finally show what he can do. At full go, and he's fully healthy, and so I'm going to say he's going to be my player of the game this week. So, Mark, what you got?
Well, you know me, I'm going to pick a defensive guy because defense wins championships, and that's what we're in this for. We don't do this. We don't do this to beat Missouri every year. We do this to go to the championship. So, defensive player. If I have to pick one, and I pick Will Lee like every week, so I'm going to go away from that, and I'm going to pick Cassius Howe. Big strip sack. It's going to be tight. People are worried. And, I think the McCown kid goes down to a Cassius Howe vicious sack, and it's a scoop and score for Scooby or somebody. And so Cassius Howe's my player of the game. I will say this, Seth's about to pick, and that was my sleeper offensive pick. So I'm with Seth on the offensive MVP. So,
all right. Like it.
Coach Traylor, what you got? Who's your player of the game?
Man, I actually thought through this pretty good. I like Cassius on defense, but I think offensively, I could see Marcel's going to have a big day. I think they're going to really show off the new and improved pass game, and when in doubt, baby, air it out. So
when in doubt, air it out. That's how you know he's a Traylor right there.
Yeah.
No doubt.
All right, Dreddy, what you got, boss?
I'm going to go with another guy. Speaking of pedigree, right? McAllen with the family business being playing quarterback. Go with Ashton Bethel Roman. You know, his dad was Mark Roman, played at LSU, second round draft pick, had a good career in the league. Just keep hearing little things. You saw him last year kind of emerge late. Miles O'Neill connected with him for a touchdown versus New Mexico State. Just talking to people, I just keep hearing his name from multiple people. And so I could see that being like, okay, here comes in the backup, here comes in let this guy get a lot of snaps, and I could see him getting connected for a couple of big plays. Apparently, he's been tormenting A&M secondary throughout the fall practice. So looking forward to seeing that's going to be my guy. So I'd be clamoring for him to start. After
you
this
go.
week, everybody be, why ain't he starting?
Yeah.
So anyway.
All right, so we're going to do this quick, going through the SEC games this week. So the first game, and I'm just going to call out the name, and then I'll just ask each one of y'all what you pick real quick. So this one, probably 10 years ago was a big game. I don't think it's going to be that big. Alabama at Florida State. I've got Bama. Mark, what you got?
Give me Bama.
Bama. All right, Seth, what do you got? Bama. Colton.
Yeah, Alabama.
There you go. Poor Florida State. They used to be good. All right, now this one,
Now, poor
Arkansas.
Florida State. Back with that.
Arkansas, they're trying to get them 6 wins for the bowl game. They're starting off with Alabama A&M. I never even heard of that school before, so I'm going to have to go with the Hogs on that one. How about you, Brown? Brown, lock up on us. Where'd you go, Brown?
Must be raining in Carthage or something.
Home of champions and no internet.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds good.
All right.
Perfect.
All right, guys, so we're going to pick the SEC games this week, and we're going to start off with Bama at Florida State. I got Bama. How about you, Mark?
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. All right, Colton?
Alabama.
Alabama. And Seth, what you got, boss?
I'm fearing what Alabama may become this year.
Yeah, I can understand that. I fear that every
Saban's
year.
gone.
So the Hogs are definitely trying to get to that six win mark and try to get to a bowl game. They are starting off with Alabama A&M. I've never even heard of that school, so I'm going to have to go with the Hogs. How about you, Mark?
Yeah, give me a hog.
Give you a Hog. Colton?
Yeah, trying to keep their jobs. Arkansas.
Yep. Seth?
Trino rolls up 700 yards of offense and scores 3 touchdowns. But
There you go. There you go. All right. We've got Auburn at Baylor. Auburn at Baylor. And Hugh Freeze probably on the hot seat, I would say. He's probably looking for a golf course in Waco right now. I'm going to go with Baylor with the upset in Waco in the toilet bowl. I hate that stadium. But anyway, go ahead. Brown, what you got?
I'm going with Auburn. I'm never going to pick Baylor. My hypocrisy goes only so far.
There you go. Colton, what you got?
I also hate their stadium, but it sounds like Auburn's got a lot of issues calling plays. So I'm going to go with Baylor.
Yeah. Nine OCs and 9 quarterbacks. All right, Seth, what do you got?
I like Coach.
I'm going with Auburn, even though I don't know. I just flipped the coin, to be honest with you.
There you go. All right. And then Florida, they got a tough one coming in. Long Island, like Long Island iced tea maybe or something. I don't know. But I've got Florida in that one. Go ahead, Brown.
Who is Long Island? Really? I never even heard of that. So, Chomp.
Chomp. There you go. All right. Colton.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one for old Florida, but go Florida.
There you go. Get that Heisman campaign going for the young man.
Yeah.
Seth, what do you got?
Maybe that walk-on for Florida will get to play again outside of the Texas game from last year. So
There you go. There you go. All right. And we got Marshall going to Georgia. I got the Dogs. How about you, Brown?
Yeah. Anytime the Ags aren't involved, I'm always going to go with the Bulldog.
Okay. All right. Coach Traylor?
Yeah, red and black, Georgia.
All right. And Seth, I'm sure you're going to round that out, aren't you?
Go Dogs. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs. All right. And then we got Toledo going to Kentucky. And I know that coach at Kentucky's still trying to get off that airplane, but I think he's going to win this one. I think Kentucky's got it. How about you, Coach Brown?
Yeah, Bluegrass. Go Bluegrass.
Bluegrass. All right. Coach Traylor?
Yeah, Kentucky, physical.
Yep. Seth?
I'm going to pick Toledo because they do return over half their production this year.
Well, this guy went and did some research.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So anyway, I think if Kentucky wins, it's still going to be one of those ones where they go wins basketball start.
There you go. Now, this is probably the biggest game of the week. LSU at Clemson, Battle of the Tigers, Battle of Death Valley. I'm going with Clemson. Kelly hasn't shown that he's the last couple years. It's like he hasn't got back from summer vacation all the way. Can't win that first big one. So I'm going with Clemson. It's at Clemson, and so that's where I'm going. What about you, Coach Brown? What you got?
Yeah, see, I think even that guy over there in Baton Rouge, that Yankee they got running things. I think he comes off the schneid. I can't pick Dabo in this. I'm going LSU.
All right, Coach Traylor.
Yeah, I can't get over Brian Kelly's recruiting videos from the last couple of years, so I'm up to go with Clemson.
All right, and Drennan.
I don't think LSU is. I mean, you think about LSU from a decade ago, run game defense, and now it's like Texas Tech, Mississippi
is.
River, Texas Tech.
Yep.
So I don't think their stuff travels anymore. So I'm
Yeah.
picking Clemson.
All right, and then we've got Georgia State going to Old Miss. I almost said Old Piss, but Old Miss. I'm going to go with Ole Miss on this, even though I can't stand Lane Kiffin. Go ahead, Brown.
Yeah, I'll take the Southern Aristocats in this too.
All right, Coach Traylor.
Ole Miss by a lot.
Ole Miss by a lot, he says. And Drennan.
Yeah, Ole Miss Lane will score 70.
Yeah.
He'll try.
Yeah, he'll baby talking about how great he is. And then Mississippi State at Southern Miss. Man, I think Mississippi State that's a train wreck. So I'm gonna go with Southern Miss on this. I didn't even know Mississippi State would travel to Southern Miss. That's kind of a step down, but I'm going with Southern Miss. What about you, Brown?
Yuck! I'm glad I don't have to watch this game. But give me State. I'm just glad it's not a spelling test.
All right, Coach Traylor.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Southern Miss. Upset alert.
There you go.
There you go.
And Seth?
I'm gonna go with Mississippi State, although I really want to pick Southern Miss. And let's just say I really hope Mississippi State is one of our permanent rivals.
There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, that's a dub. And then we got Central Arkansas at Missouri. Even though I can't stand Dink and his gimmicks with the blanket and the whole, it's ridiculous. But anyway, I think Missouri wins this one just because I don't think Central Arkansas has enough. So, Coach Brown.
Yeah. Give me Coach Hype. Dinkowitz wins this one.
All right, Coach Traylor.
Yeah, Missouri.
And Drennan.
Mizzou.
Mizzou, he says. All right. And then Oklahoma, they're kind of pulling the old Arkansas game playing out. They're playing Illinois State at Oklahoma. So I'm going to have to go Sooner on that one. Go ahead, Coach Brown. What you got?
Yeah, I got a former linebacker playing at Oklahoma who's pretty stinking good, Kip Lewis. I'm going to go Boomer here.
There you go. Coach Traylor?
Yeah, Kip's pretty good. Oklahoma by quite a few.
Yeah, as much as they want, probably. And then Coach Drennan there?
Oklahoma, very interested to watch the offensive film after this, even if it is Illinois State. With the new OC, new quarter, Johnny Mateer and all that. So anyway.
And then this is another big game. This will be a good one to watch. Tennessee versus Syracuse, and they're playing this one in Atlanta. I'm going to go for the upset with Syracuse. I just think that there's too much off the field things going on in Tennessee with the quarterback leaving and everything going there. So I'm going Syracuse on this one. What you got, Coach Brown?
Yeah, I'm real impressed with the coaching staff at Syracuse. They do a lot of stuff, and so I'm going Syracuse.
All right, Coach Traylor?
Yeah, I think this is going to be the best game of the weekend. I think Tennessee by a field goal.
Okay. And Drennan?
Tennessee in a close one.
Tennessee in a close one. Ooh, we're split on that one. I like that. All right, so this is another big one. You got the Sips going up to the Shoe. And I hate to pick them, but I just don't. I think Ohio State lost too much last year off that national title team, and so I'm gonna have to say the Sips by a field goal. Go ahead, Brown.
Yeah, this is the only time you'll ever hear me pick a Buckeye. I don't usually pick the lucky nut, but if it's Ohio State and the Sips, I'm going with the Buckeye.
All right, Coach Traylor.
Buckeyes go 2-0 this weekend.
There you
Ohio
go.
State.
Buckeyes go 2-0.
Yeah.
All right, Coach Drennan, what you got?
Going with Ohio State, but I don't like that it's an 11 a.m. kick.
Yeah,
Let me put it
yeah.
that way.
All right, and then Vanderbilt's getting their quarterback off to a great start, playing Charleston Southern. There's a lot of schools on here I've never heard of. I'm just going to be honest with you. And so
A lot of checks being mailed.
That's right. So I'm going to go with Vandy on this one. Vandy gets off to a 1-0 start. What do you got, Coach Brown?
Yeah, anchor down. I'm going Vandy.
There
Never
you
even
go,
heard
Coach
of Charleston
Traylor.
Southern.
I'm excited to watch the Vandy offense. I'm going to go with Vandy.
There you go. And Drennan?
Yeah, Vandy.
All right, and then the one we've already predicted, so I can check A&M for all 4 of our boxes there. But man, I just want to thank Coach Traylor for jumping on here and doing this with us. It was fun to get some little insight for somebody that went down and worked at UTSA, has worked with Coach Traylor, and so like I said, I think we all got a lot of respect for that guy and what he's doing, what he's done. But let's hope our Ags come out and get off on the right foot this year. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Thanks and gig 'em.
Go, guys.
Tracy Amigos, former football coaches turned insurance agents, talk about Texas Aggie football.